A short time ago, President Trump announced that Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of a peace plan that will release all the hostages held by Hamas and lead to Israel withdrawing its troops to an agreed-upon line in Gaza. Part of the first steps toward what he calls a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. A source in Israel now says the hostages are expected to be released on Saturday or Sunday. Others have said perhaps Monday, although that could be sped up. I want to talk about these extraordinary developments with Freed Zakaria, host of Freed Zakaria GPS. Now, Freed, there's obviously still a lot we don't know about the contours of this deal, but how important a day is this?
Oh, I think it's a very important day, and you're right that we don't know enough about the contours of the deal. The most important part, as Brett McGurk pointed out, is that Hamas seems to have agreed to release all the hostages in the first phase. They had never been willing to do that before, and that is a game changer because Hamas loses all its leverage once the hostages are released. That is the only leverage they have. Israel is vastly superior to them in every, military capacity. The one thing they had was the hostages. And the fact that they're willing to give up the hostages means they recognize this is the end for them.
What do you make of President Trump highlighting former British Prime Minister Tony Blair as someone who could have a key role in post-war Gaza?
Well, look, I think Blair has worked very hard to earn the trust of almost all the players in the region. He's a very smart guy. I mean, he won 3 elections and was a very successful prime minister in Britain. So I suspect that might well happen, and it would be a very good idea if it did. Look, Gaza is going to need all the help it can get. It's going to need tens of billions of dollars from the Gulf states. It's going to need help from the European Union. It's going to need help from the United States. How many figures are there in the world who are trusted and respected by all the people, all the groups I mentioned? Blair's in some ways unique in that respect. He's been working it for 10 years, so I think it's a very good idea to enlist him.
What about the future of Hamas? I mean, it's an organization which has, spent a lot of money building tunnels for years, not bomb shelters for people there, for its citizens. They took power from the Palestinian Authority. Do you believe they go away?
Look, I think Hamas is basically destroyed. Think about this has been 2 years of just massive, massive destruction of their military capacity, of their leadership. The last effort the Israelis made to bomb Hamas, quote-unquote, leadership in Doha, it seems like they basically killed a bunch of admin people because there's nobody left. So when people talk about Hamas, look, there's always going to be some part of the Palestinian population that believes in armed resistance to Israel's occupation. There will be people, there will be small militias, small bands. They might call themselves Hamas. But Hamas, in the sense of the entity that ruled the Gaza Strip, that has been a full-formed militia with all the tunnels, with all the training, I think that's gone. There will be remnants of it scattered around, but I don't think there's much of that left anymore.
What do you see as the ruling structure for Gaza? I don't know if it would extend to the Palestinian Authority territory.
That's the million-dollar question, Anderson, and that might be a stumbling block because, look, the Israelis have been willing to agree to this idea of a Palestinian technocrats, as long as they're not affiliated with Hamas and they're not affiliated with the Palestinian Authority, because that gets to a problem in the Israeli coalition, which is Netanyahu cannot allow the Palestinian Authority to have more sway and more authority because that suggests an entity that might then become a Palestinian state, and that would, of course, mean the extreme right-wing members of his government would have huge problems with that. So it has to be non-Hamas, non-Palestinian Authority, Palestinian technocrats. Now, good luck finding those people who are completely unaffiliated, have had no prior association with Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. I'm sure some exist, and they'll be working hard, and my guess is they won't apply the litmus test too strongly. I mean, if somebody once had some role in the PA, for example, I would hope that would not disqualify him or her. But that is going to be the challenge, because the Arab states are willing to support a Palestinian technocracy. They're not willing to go and govern Gaza themselves. They don't want to be in the business of shooting Palestinians who are rebelling or jailing Palestinians. So it is essential that there be Palestinians governing, and who those people are is going to be a bit of a stumbling block.